Hey everyone, welcome to a new video. In this week's video, we're going to take a look at a project that it's a personal project of mine, to be honest. It's a CCTV camera. So effectively, it's a camera that's in the level, and you can take control of it. So you can look through the camera, see what's happening from the camera's perspective, and then you can switch back to the character and be about your business. So, here's a quick example. So I'm going to use multiplayer just because I thought it'd be cool if it worked. Now, this is local multiplayer. This is not testing like an online multiplayer sort of scenario. I am running it as a client, so it is connecting to a server, so it is working. But we'll see. Anyway, if you try it on multiplayer and it doesn't work, let me know what you're struggling with, and I'll try and help you. I am not that good with multiplayer, but we'll have a go. Anyway, so character runs over to here. This takes control of the camera that's in the level. The camera is obviously animated to be panning around the scene, so it's sort of patrolling. And then if you hit the E key, you'll gain possession back to your character and go about your day. So you can see the cameras over there in the corner. They're just panning from left to right. So obviously if I switch to this other character now, you can see that person's running around. And that's basically it. So effectively, this idea came from, if you've ever played Time Splitters, this is a PlayStation 2 game, by the way. So this is something I played years ago. But I absolutely loved it. And the good thing is, you could play like a Capture the Flag or Capture the Base or King of the Hill or something like that. And inside the base, there'd be a sort of control unit like that. You'd go on that and you'd be on a camera. So you'd be able to look through the camera on the outside of the building. The only difference is, in Time Splitters, there was a minigun attached to it, so you could actually shoot people. And if you shot down the camera, then the person controlling the minigun couldn't get you anymore. I've not added that. I'm probably going to add that in my personal project. But if you need a gun added to it, let me know, and I'll probably extend this video, part 2 maybe. But let me know. Some other things that I'm going to add on probably at the end of this video if there's time, depends how much I talk, which is not looking good so far, is when one person connects, it kicks the other people off. And then the other thing, just to speed things up, the actual camera panning left and right, I'm going to leave that to the end of the video, just so then I can get the majority of the actual camera functionality working, and then just the things that make it look nicer, I'm going to leave to the end. So, that being said, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pause, open up a fresh one, and we can start from scratch. Okay, so, right, I've got a new project open. Now, and what I've done, I've decided to save a lot of time. I've pre-built a couple of things. Now, I've not pre-built any blueprint, so you only have to make sort of how you... I'll show you. It's just easier to show you. 2 blueprints. One called CCTV Control and one called CCTV Camera. In the control, it is simply just a cube scaled up to be a bit taller. And I've put a box collision, if I could select it. So I was picking it from there. A box collision just sticking out the front a little bit. That's all. So to keep it simple, it's just a cube with a box. It's just a box collision, to be honest. That's all you need. And then there's an event graph, but obviously I've not done anything. We're going to do that together. And then on the camera's a little bit more tricky, but it is only 3 things. So it's 2 cubes. It's 3 cubes actually. So I've done one at the side like that, and then I've done a 45-degree thinner beam, a thinner cube. They're all cubes, by the way, and then another cube for the actual camera at the top. And the only thing that's different really is I've just picked a black material for both of these, and for the camera I just picked anything that looked weird. So this was module disabled material. So that's all it is. So the event graphs are empty. We're going to do that together. But I've just pre-made those. So the camera, when it's on the wall, will look like that. So you can see why I've done it the way I have, just so it looks like it's mounted somehow. And then the actual unit itself, I haven't even put in the world yet, so we'll just drop that in here. I've got a box that we can walk into, so that's lovely jubbly. What's interesting is Unreal just crashed a few minutes ago because I'd run out of memory. So that's that. Right, we're all set up. So hopefully, just pause the video, make a cube with a box collision, make a little camera, and we can continue on. So what we're going to start with is the control box. Realistically, all we need to do is we need to take an overlap event from the box to start things off. So from the box, we're going to scroll down on the right hand side. So with the box selected, scroll down, and on component begin overlap, hit that. You'll get this box. So effectively, when your character hits this little square on the front, this is going to trigger this event. And then what we want to do is we need to get certain information from the character, such as, well, one, is it a character? And two, we need to access the player controller. So the controller has your input controls and stuff like that. So we need to get access to that. One way to do that is with the other actor. So if we pull off the other actor and we cast to a pawn, the reason I'm doing that is because you can get a controller from a pawn. So if we cast to a pawn first, we'll make sure, one, it's a character type thing. So that's one level of check-in. So if this succeeds, we can actually get the controller. And then as the pawn, we can get controller. Just like that. And then this will allow us to cast to a player controller. What if I mistyped? Cast to A. And I spelled cast wrong. Cast to. So cast to player controller. And then that should succeed as well. So what the one good thing about this is if you've got other things happening in your game, and let's just say a projectile, for example, goes into this collision box, it's not going to trigger because it's not a pawn and it's not a player controller. Even if you've got like AI creatures that are not players but are pawns, the intercept with this, the controller's not going to work because it's not going to cast to a player controller, so it should prevent any unexpected events from happening. So what we can do now is, because we're going to need to take a reference of this player controller, so which player has interacted with the control to connect to the camera, we can obviously promote these to a variable, and to be honest, I'm just going to call it current controller. So we'll set that. And then what's also probably a good idea is let's actually get the actor reference as well. So we'll do a promote to variable as well. Pop that in there. So instead of other actor, we're going to have current actor. There we go. We could say current player, maybe. No, current actor's fine. It might be easier for us to actually go over to the camera at this point. We need to make a reference to the camera. Then we can say, right, this camera we're going to connect to. So it might be better that we go over to the camera. Let's do that. So nip over to your camera. And inside the camera, we've got quite a bit to do, to be honest. But the first things first. So what we've got is we've got the mount, the camera boom, if you will, the actual camera. But we can't look out of a static mesh. Don't select camera. Type in camera. Add that. And then drag it onto the camera, just like that. Right, that's it. So with that selected like that, now we can reset rotation, and that's now matched the parent. And we're going to keep the scale. The main thing is we're going to keep the scale, but we're going to reset location. So that's put the camera in the exact same location as the static camera, the one that's going to be visible in the game. So now we should be looking through it. There is a chance that we might need to come back here and just move it forward a little bit, because we might be inside this camera and we won't be able to see anything. But the main thing is keep the scale. The original scale would have been 1:1:1, but because we've put it on something that's small, it's scaled up, but we want to keep that. Wonderful. Right, so now we've got a camera, we can actually do something with it. Come over to the event graph. So first thing we're going to need to do is we're going to need to sort of get the communication between the controller and the camera set up, because we need to access things like the player controller and the player actor, so we know which controller to sort of switch camera of. So what we should do is we'll do an event begin player. Let's zoom in. An event begin player. And then the first thing that I'm going to do is bind. No, I'm not, because I've not created the thing to bind. we are going to make an event dispatcher. An event dispatcher is basically a way for you to send a message from another blueprint and do an event in another blueprint based on that message. So it's almost like a broadcast system, like, hey, I'm about to do this thing, and then somebody else might want to do something because of that kind of thing. Anyway, so what we're going to do is CCTV_connect. And we're going to drag it out, and we're going to do a bind. So basically, every time we hear a broadcast of CCTV Connect, this event, this one, is going to do something. So we're going to do custom event, because we need to do a new one. And we're going to do connect player, just like that. Now, for us to connect the player, we're going to need some information, which is the controller and the actor. So with the event dispatcher selected down in the left, come over here to the right and you'll see inputs. So if we press add, we'll get a new one, and then we need two, so just press add twice, get two of them. And the first one's going to be player controller, and the other one's going to be player actor. And so for the player controller, the type is going to be player controller, just like that, object reference. And then for the player actor, it's going to be just an actor reference, but then an object reference as well. There we go, so we've got the two of those. So wonderful. Every time we call this CCTV Connect from somewhere else, it's going to require us to pass in this information because it's required. Wonderful. Now we can continue in here, but we've actually got enough now to go back to the control unit and actually call this. So let's do that. So let's go back to the control unit, and we need to be able to reference a camera in the world. So what we can do is we can add a variable and call this CCTV_camera ref, just like that. And then for the type, because my camera is in a blueprint called BP CCTV camera, I'm going to make it just a very specific type. So if I type in BP_, I can see that my blueprint for my camera is just here, and then I'm going to select object reference. And then I'm going to select on the right, instance editable and expose on spawn, and this will allow me to see it from outside the blueprint, which will make sense in just a sec. So with that set up and the expose and the editable selected, hit compile, and then go back to your map. So with your control unit selected, you will notice in the details panel there is now a CCTV camera reference, and it says none. So options now, you need to pick which camera this is going to want to communicate with. Now I've only got one in the world at the moment, so it's quite easy for me just to click this drop down box and select the one that I want. If you've got multiple in the world, what you can do is, instead of selecting it here, which I'll clear, you can click this little eyedropper tool just there, and then actually select the actor in the world. So if I click on that, you'll see that's now populated. And if it's not the right type, it won't let you. So you can see I'm not allowed with all these. And then when I hover over the camera, that's the right type, so it lets me. Wonderful. So now, every time we use that camera reference, every time we use this camera reference here, it knows that it's going to be this camera specifically, which is good because now we know we're going to connect to the right camera. Okay, so where was I? So now we've got this reference set up. Every time we drag this out, let's drag this out. Well, now we can drag it out and we can actually use it. So every time we use this reference, we know it's going to be the camera we've selected in the world. Now, there's a chance you're going to forget. So what I'd recommend, if you're planning on using it in a multiplayer, do an isValid. And effectively, your code won't try to run if it's not there, which will prevent you from having just a very annoying bug. And if it's not valid, just put a print string saying camera not there, and then at least you know where the error is. But if it is valid, we need to do that broadcast. We need to go, hey, let's call CCTV Connect. So call, and you'll see call functions here, you'll see an event called Connect Player. Click that, and you'll see that now it's going, okay, well, for you to do that, we need to know what controller and actor you've got. So now we can plug in. So you can either draw a line straight across here, which I'm going to do. Oh, you know, I forget about the formatting. I like making it a bit better by just chucking a couple of reroutes in. But I said I wouldn't do this, but I'm kind of struggling not to. I just like it, okay. That's horrible, but anyway, now we can connect. And basically, every time we walk into this box now, we're going to check it's actually a player, make some references, and then connect. So now we're going back over to the camera. Back to the camera. What do we do when we want to connect? So, first thing we're going to want to do, let's just set up the actual camera bit first, actually. So, from the player controller, do a set view target with blend. This node allows you to switch from the current camera to another camera or thing to view from. So, the actual target is the player controller, and the new view target is the new thing you want to look through, or at least. It'll make more sense later. So, at the moment, for this one, we're actually going to connect in the new camera. And you'll notice that this won't let you do it, because it doesn't want that. But if we get the owner of this camera, basically this is a camera component reference, and it's not an actor. You need an actor. But if we use the get owner, it'll get the whole blueprint, and it'll know that there's a camera in there, and it'll make sure you're looking through the right thing anyway. So, connect that in, and effectively, this already is going to work. And if you want to have like a bit of an animation where it pans, where it switches slowly from one perspective to another, set a blend time. I don't think I've explained that well enough, so I'll just show you. If we compile this and we play, this should work now. So, if we run into it, boom, instantly on the camera. Very instant. Where with a blend time, let's set this to, I'm going to set it to 0.2 because it's quick, but it's not instant. And it's not like really dramatically slow either. So I run into it, and there you go. So it's the actual, how, you saw what it does. It it lerps effectively from one place to another. I was trying to avoid using that word because some people don't know what I mean by that, but newer people won't anyway. Anyway, blend time. So 0.2. Let's set it to 0.5. Nice and slow transition. Wonderful. So we press play. We run into this, and there we go. We get. That's pretty much it, to be honest. But you can see now that I can still run around in the scene, which is not good. And I also can't disconnect. So we're not quite finished just yet. But that's the basics of it. Anyway, what should we do next? Should we do exiting or not move? We'll do not moving around. The good thing about referencing the controller is you can disable input with a controller. So if you type in disable input and connect that in, and basically your controller and your actor is the same thing. Actually, it's not. It's the other way around. My target's going to be the actor, and what I want to disable is the controller. So, probably can't hear me spamming my keyboard, but I assure you I am. You cannot move. So that was simple. Next, so we need to now find out if we need to exit. We need to exit the camera. We don't want to be stuck looking through this camera forever. So what I chose to do is I want to sort of, while I'm in the camera, I want to detect whether a certain key is being pressed, whether it's the I wouldn't pick the escape key because that's usually used on PC for other stuff, but if you're using a controller, it might be like triangle or Y, or on the keyboard it might be E for interact or whatever. I'm going to use the E key because it works better for me. And at the moment, what I've settled on is using a timer. So a timer is sort of, well, we're going to use a timed event. And effectively what it'll do is it'll repeat an event every amount of time. So I'll repeat, is this key being pressed? Is this key being pressed? Is this key being pressed? Which might not be the best way of doing it, but I wanted to avoid using a tick. If there's a better way, let me know down in the comments. But so far, for me, this is going to be a single-player project for me. But I've tried to make it as multiplayer ready as I could. Anyway, so we're going to do a set timer by event. And what we're going to do is we're going to pick an event, which we're going to have to make. So I'll do a custom event. And this one's going to be disconnect check. So do a check for a disconnect request. Now this event timer we're going to want to loop, and I want to check every 0.2 seconds because that's often enough. Yeah, that's often enough. So every time this loops, I want to see if a button's being pressed. Now to do that, I can tap into the player controller again and say input key down. So is input key down? That'll check whether something's being pressed. I can pick the key here. So keyboard E key somewhere. Bloody hell. And E key. There we go. So you might want to link this to sort of like your input mapping and stuff like that, where it updates if somebody changes the key bindings. Straight into a branch. So if it's pressed yes or no. So obviously if it's false, you don't want to do anything. But if it is true, we're going to want to disconnect. Now, at the moment, we don't have a disconnect function. So let's make one. Now, what I'm thinking is if we make the disconnect function an event dispatcher, we can disconnect it from somewhere else. You might not want to do that, but at least you're building it in for the day you do. So let's add an event dispatcher. CCTV underscore disconnect. There's an argument for using interfaces in this as well. However, I didn't really want to set up an interface just for our cameras connect and disconnect. Because realistically, you're just going to reference the two. In my opinion, using an interface is a little bit too much. Because I guess if you've got multiple cameras in the world and you're not sure which one you're going to be connecting to in the editor, an interface might be better, because then you'll have to do get all access of class, and then you're going to have to somehow pick one, and then you can say, does it implement interface? And then if it does, call the thing. But for me, this is simpler. Anyway, that's that. Yeah. So we've got the CCTV Connect, and I guess we can chuck in. I tell you what, let me just. How do I want this to work? Let's put that there. Let's put that there. Should we? That's not what I expected. Disconnect, bind, just like that. Not too sure how to organise this, I'll be honest, but drag off the event, do another custom event, and this one's going to be called disconnect. Did I spell that right? No, I've put 2 C's in it. Doesn't matter. 2 C's and 1 N. I'm sure it's got 2 N. Anyway, disconnect. What do we do when we disconnect? Kind of the opposite. It's going to be we're going to need the player controller and the actor again, to be honest. So select CCTV disconnect. We need to add the same inputs. So add. and luckily it saved the previous one, so we only have to change one of these now. So player actor, that's already set, and then player controller, and set this to player controller and an object reference. Hit compile, that's now pulled through. And then what I'm going to do, just for safety, I'm going to do an is valid on both of these before we do anything. Just like that. Because if either of these are not valid, this is not going to work, and it's better than getting an error. And, oh my god, this is tedious. There we go. If they are both valid, then we can do the set view target with blend, just like that. So we are valid. The player controller and the new view the new view target is going to be the actor. So pop that in there, and that should be it. We also want to enable input. So once we have changed our camera, we probably want to enable input. So drag that over there and enable input, just like that. So the controller, actor reference. Yeah, it's the other way around. Player actor as the target, controller gets plugged into that. Why have I got too many things connected? Hang on, one of them shouldn't be there, so just disconnect both of them. That's back to actor. Connect that over there, just like that. Very good. Okay, so I keep wanting to format it, and I really shouldn't. So when we disconnect, we're going to check to make sure the controller and the actor is valid. We're then going to set the view target and re-enable input. So that's absolutely fine. So now what we can do is we can sort of call that disconnect. So if we do disconnect, now because the event, obviously we're not using this as a dispatch event. We're just going to call this event raw. But if we want to call it from somewhere else, we can do. Anyway, let's grab these references. So we didn't save. You can promote these to a variable, I guess, in here, maybe. So it's a bit easier to draw lines over here. But effectively, you're just dragging that straight across there. Pop that back to actor. Just connect those up, and you should be good to go. The target is self because that's where this event is set. That's pretty much it. However, once we have connected, we just want to stop this timer from running. So you can drag off the return value here, and instead of stop timer, it's called clear and invalidate. So you can pop that there. Just make sure you connect the execute line via this disconnect route because you don't want it to cancel itself. And that's pretty much it, to be honest, at this point. Let's just go and check it works. So we run over here, we hit that, we press it. So I can't move around, and then if I hit the E key, I go back. Now, going back was quite instant, so it's up to you whether you want to do a blend on both of them. I'll do a blend just so it's consistent, and that's pretty much it. So, yes, I think I'm at the point of the video now where thanks for watching. We're going to do some extra stuff now. I'm going to add a bit of text on the screen just to say exit, but only when we're in the camera. And I will probably talk you through how to set up the camera panning. So yeah, if you've made it this far, thanks for watching, and if you want to continue, sit tight, I guess. It's basic stuff, to be honest. So in the blueprints folder with all your other stuff, I'm going to do a user interface and a widget blueprint. User widget, and I'm going to do WBP for widget blueprint underscore exit underscore text. Open that up, and real simple, go to panels, grab a canvas panel and grab a text. Now, because I'm going to have this at the bottom of the screen-ish, I'm going to change the anchor to the center bottom, just like that. I'm also going to reset the position on the X and the Y, but I'm going to quickly change the alignment to 0.5 and then 0.5 on that. And then I'm going to drag the Y back up to somewhere I like. So maybe about -150. Let's just tidy it up. -150. So I like where that is. That's nice. And then we'll change that to press and then E to exit. Something like that. Press E to exit. And I don't like the way that's shifted over, so I will size to content and that will center it again. So we can close that because we're not going to need to go back in. And what we're going to do is when player connects, just after this, we're going to create a widget. So we're just going to create that exit just right at the time of connecting a player. Set class WPP exit text. Now from the return value you can either make a reference to this if you like, which is useful for disconnecting, but you don't have to. So we'll do it. Might be worth it on the multiplayer. I'm not sure. I'll leave that with you. So we're going to add to viewport just like that. So we need to add it to the screen. Create that. That's going to add it to the screen. Now, at the point of disconnect, which is this route. No, it's not. It's down here. Yeah, I'm going to make a reference. So, return value, promote to variable, exit, text, whoops, ref. Just like that. Exit text ref. And then I'm just going to connect that with that to there like that. So tedious. I've noticed since having a higher resolution on my screen that because I'm actually zoomed all the way in, normally you can go right in, but on 1080p or it feels right in your face. I'm really struggling to hit these lines and nodes. So annoying. Anyways, grab that exit text reference, get a reference to that, and then what we're going to do is we're going to remove that from our parent. Remove from parent, so there it is, remove from parent when we disconnect, and that's pretty much it. It might be worth you doing an is valid, just make sure that it's not been replaced by something else. Hit compile, let's have a go, let's play, run over here, boom, hit E to exit is on the screen, press E to exit, and there we go, wonderful. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. So, for the panning of the camera, where do we want to go? So, what I'll probably do is I'll probably go off the event begin play, like that. Sneakily, what I've done is I have, oops, bloody hell, I have copied the blueprint. The blueprints are actually, when you copy them, it copies them into their own like little language. I forget what Unreal call it now, but blueprints have got their own like effectively a script behind the scenes. So the reason I've done that is because it's not complicated, it's just remaking it is going to add loads of extra time. So what I'll do, I'll just talk you through it, to be honest. What we're going to do, we're going to get the camera world rotation to start with, and then over time we're going to say let's add a bit of rotation to it. And then the timeline will effectively reverse itself, and then it'll go, right, now let's take that back off, and then let's add it. And we're just going to loop that cycle. So you can see here, we play from the start, and then when that's finished, actually that's the other way around. We play from the start, when it's finished it goes into this flip-flop, which then goes, alright, well we'll do A first, which reverses, so it goes backwards. Then when that's finished, it goes back into the flip-flop. Then it goes through B, which plays it. Then when it's finished, it goes back in a flip-flop. And then, so you can see how it just repeats that cycle over and over again. Real cheeky way to do an animation. And inside the timeline, so because I've pasted it, it doesn't remember all this stuff. But I'll add a track of a length 5. And it's a float track. Name your track alpha, because that's what you need for a lerp. Is already being used by the default pin. Holding shift, click one's here and one's here. It doesn't really matter, to be honest, but select one, and the first one is going to have a time of 0 and a value of 0. The second one is going to have a time of 5 and a value of 1. Hit these two buttons and it will make it sort of span the exact width. So you can see over a period of 5 seconds we're going to progressively get to 1. Hit compile, close the timeline tab, and you'll see now that we've got this alpha. What the alpha does is it goes from 0 to 1 over time, and we plug that into a lerp node, and what a lerp does is as the value goes from 0, which is going to be 100% of A, and as it makes its way to the value of 1, it's going to transition to B. So what that allows you to do is gradually transition from one rotation to another. Now, if you've never used a lerp before, there's lerps for a lot of stuff. You can lerp on floats, which is good for the same thing, but for positions. You can lerp values and all sorts of stuff. Very, very useful to know. And typically you'll use a timeline with a lerp, amongst other things. So what we're doing is we're getting the original rotation. We are then adding... so what I've done is I've took the original location, split it. So let me just quickly make this. Create that. Compile. Get rid of all these red bits. What we're going to do is I've taken the camera original, right-clicked it, split strut, which is effectively a rotator is just an X, Y, and a Z. And how much have you rotated on them angles, on them, yeah, them directions. So all I'm interested in is the yaw. So I've said the original location plus 10 is where I want to go, and then the original location minus 10 is the other side of where I want to go. No, I'm not explaining this one very well, but effectively take the center location and add 10 to it, so then I'm over here, and then take the same location and minus 10 to it, so I'm over here, and then basically the timeline is allow us to transition. Perfect reenactment, but there you go. And then effectively the output or the update, so as this timeline is doing this change for me, as it's updating, we're going to set the relative rotation of the camera. And that's the static mesh. So the actual thing that's visible in the world is also moving, and because the actual player camera, let's call it, the CCTV camera, is a child of it, that'll move with it. Hit compile, hit play, and in the world you should have a panning camera. Albeit 5 seconds isn't very fast, but the cameras don't move that fast anywhere. Now I seem to have an issue where it is panning kind of weirdly, actually, to be honest. It's pointing more over the wall. Okay, I understand it now. So because of the script that I actually took it from, I've got it set up slightly different. And I'm updating it using the relative rotation, whereas for us we want to update the world rotation. So effectively, it was taking its world rotation, and then basically changing its rotation relative to its parent. Remove relative rotation and replace it with world rotation. Hit compile, and press play. And you get this nice panning from left to right. And that's pretty much it. Of course, there's one thing extra to add, actually. That's going to be disconnecting from another script. Let's just quickly do that. Now, because we set up this bind, what we can do is... let's say when this overlap event happens, let me think about this. I've not actually done this in my script, so this is kind of experimental. We might want to get a reference from our camera so we can call the disconnect like this. Let's do a quick is valid, just in case we've not made that reference at this point. Plug that in, is valid. If it is valid, disconnect and then do the rest. If it's not valid, just do the rest. Let's just pop that up here. Looks a bit janky at this point, but we're adding an is valid and a disconnect. Who do we want to disconnect? This is where we're going to disconnect our current actor and our current controller is what we want. Then the rest should handle itself. And then we're going to reconnect the other. So basically what this is going to do is in multiplayer, let's just test it. It's going to disconnect who was on it and then reconnect the next person if they're valid. You might want to add this after the cast to pawn and controller, maybe, so then random stuff in the scene can't disconnect you. But I'll leave that to you. But for this lengthy video, I'm going to just skip that for now. Let me set this to number of players 2, net mode client. I'm going to save all just before I do, just in case it crashes. Hit play. And there we go, we've got 2. We connect 1. And then if I flick over to this, run over. So there we go. So it's connected the second player and it's kicked off the first player. And then if I hit E, we can see we've got 2 characters running around the scene again. So that's worked out as expected. We've got an error adding to the viewport, but we can tidy that up. I'm not going to worry too much about that in this instance, because I've just realised the length of this video has exceeded what I expected. However, less than an hour is fine. So let's wrap this up quick before it gets to an hour. So thank you for watching. If that was useful, please let me know. Consider giving me a like and subscribe if you want to see more. If you would like the project files, I do upload these, but they are on as a member only. That is every level, so even the cheapest one, just because it helps me cover the cost of paying for the hosting. Projects can be quite big, and not specifically this one, but you get what I'm saying. I've got to pay to keep it online, and that just helps, basically. Appreciate that. Yep, join me on Discord if you want to sort of chat. If you need help with anything else, just send me a message. And it's just easier on Discord, because by the time I get a YouTube comment, it's probably 16 hours later. Discord's a lot quicker, and I can share screenshots and videos to try and help you out, so it just makes sense. Right, that's pretty much it. So thank you for watching, and I guess I'll see you in a future video. Thank you, bye.